Why I no longer go to church sermons like these. I want to, this is not really a sermon, but this is a message by a man named Greg Koukl. I think I pronounced that right. He is an apologist, author. I guess he's a pastor too, maybe. I don't know. But even though this is not a real sermon, he is saying something here that I really respect and admire. And it's a method, a strategy, a way of talking to unbelievers by asking questions. And I'm being sincere when I say this. Christians, please, please, I beg of you, do this on me. Do this on other atheists. We would love this if you would ask us questions about what we believe and why, and what we mean by certain things. I also want to juxtapose Gregory Koukl with some criticisms on SE, Street Epistemology. Street Epistemology is basically a method similar to what Greg uses. And I want to post some criticisms here that I've seen recently about Street Epistemology, and I'm going to let Greg, this apologist, defend Street Epistemology on behalf of the Street Epistemologists. So let's go through this paragraph criticism line by line, and hopefully Gregory can help me out here. Street Epistemology is a highly strategic method. These are not genuine conversations. They are carefully crafted, highly controlled interviews.
We have Taking the Roof Off. We have Just the Facts, Ma'am, and Rhodes Scholar, and Steamroller. And these are all names that identify a maneuver in conversation that helps to give you a legitimate advantage.
Helps give you a legitimate advantage. He's talking about a method to help Christians have an advantage over non-believers
in the conversation. But all of these tactics really are subordinated to a central tactic. That amounts to the game plan.
Game plan.
That allows you to maneuver at all in the conversation. And this game plan is a single tactic, which is the simplest tactic to employ in a conversation, to stop a challenger in their tracks, to turn the tables, to get them thinking, and to put you in the driver's seat of the conversation. And by the way, that is the goal of the tactical approach. You want to be in the driver's seat. Doesn't mean you're being manipulative, you're managing it. It doesn't mean that you're coercing somebody, but you're just controlling the conversation in an appropriate way.
So you're not manipulating, you're just controlling the conversation. So Street Epistemology is a highly strategic method, just like Gregory Koukl's. These aren't genuine conversations, they're carefully crafted, highly controlled interviews. Well, if they're not genuine because they're carefully crafted and highly controlled, then I guess to be fair and honest, the criticism against Street Epistemology should be used against Gregory Koukl.
And this tactic does it best. The tactic has a name, and it's called Columbo. Question after question after, and sometimes they get upset. And he said, I'm sorry, it's because I'm asking all these questions, but I can't help it.
You know, the same thing's happened to me, Gregory. I've been on Facebook chat messenger boards, and I'm asking question after question. Sometimes Christians do get upset because why are you asking so many questions?
It's a habit.
It is a habit.
And this is a habit that you ought to get into.
Thank you, Gregory. So I am glad that a Christian is saying, Doug, it's okay to ask question after question after question of Christians. It's a habit that I should, I'm already in it, so it's a habit I should keep doing.
The key to the Columbo tactic is that the Christian goes on the offensive in an inoffensive way with carefully selected questions.
With carefully selected questions.
That advance the conversation. Let me say that again. Now, why questions?
Why questions?
Well, a couple of good reasons. When you draw people out with questions, you are showing an interest in them, right? And when you show an interest in them, this is good manners. Interested is interesting. Right? So you're just basically being polite. Questions also allow you to get information you wouldn't have gotten in any other way.
So yeah, questions are a way of showing interest in the person. It's a way of being polite, and maybe even a way to build rapport. The online Street Epistemology Guide tells you to start off the conversation by building rapport, asking questions to get the person comfortable, showing an interest in them to get them comfortable, just like what Gregory's talking about.
You ask questions, the other people answer. Well, that's good. How about this? When you're asking a question, the other person is talking and you're not. You're doing what? You're listening. That means the pressure's not on you. You're buying time, if you need it, by asking questions.
So I think Gregory's spot on here. I think Gregory would make a great street epistemologist.
It's easy, but the most
It's
important value.
Actually, I disagree with Gregory here. It isn't easy. I've been doing it for a while, and I've challenged Christians to just ask me questions without feeling the need to spout out why I'm wrong or what they believe. It is actually very difficult to just listen and ask a question based on their answer, the next question. It is a skill. It takes some practice.
Of asking questions is when you ask questions, it puts you in the driver's seat of the conversation. Is you are controlling the conversation in a good way. I've been in talk radio for over 20.
So yeah, if Gregory can control a conversation in a good way, why can't a street epistemologist?
I'm in charge, even though the other person is doing most of the talking. I manage the conversation because of the questions I'm asking. I'm in the driver's seat.
One thing, Christians, a little piece of advice, you're going to find out very quickly that, I'll speak for myself. As an agnostic atheist, I make very few dogmatic claims. I will claim vehemently that the earth is spherical shaped and not flat. Those are the type of dogmatic claims I make. So if you want to question me about those, fine. But be prepared for a guy like me to say, I don't know, to a lot of your questions. And you know what? I'm comfortable with that. I don't have this need, this desire to explain everything. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not curious and I wouldn't love to know these answers, but I don't have this psychological, emotional need for explanation. Maybe I'm just a freak of nature that way. But I understand that a lot of Christians need to know, to feel this comfort. They need to have an explanation for everything or a lot of things.
I want to sketch out some particulars. Actually, it's a 3-step game plan in which you use questions to maneuver.
3 steps game plan. Sounds like a strategy, maybe even a script.
And make a difference with a goal of putting a stone in someone's shoe.
Whoa. What's the goal? Listen to that again.
With a goal of putting a stone in someone's shoe, getting them thinking.
What does that sound like to you, Christians? If the goal is to put a stone in my shoe to get me thinking, isn't he talking about doubt? Isn't he talking about me doubting my beliefs? Street epistemologists are almost like epistemic telemarketers. They ask scripted questions with the hope that you'll eventually buy their product, doubt. Isn't Gregory Koukl, in a way, selling doubt? Now, I'm not saying this is bad. I think doubt's a great thing. If you're believing something that's not true, the first step is to doubt that whatever you do believe is maybe wrong. So kudos to him, but if you're going to complain against street epistemology, you need to complain against this guy.
I put a stone in his shoe. I left him with a fragrant aroma, hopefully, and, as it turned out, something of substance to consider. And all of my articles have str.org in the footer.
Yeah, it sounds like some marketing's going on here.
Stand to Reason's website, str.org, in case you missed that.
In case you missed that.
So he has a means to pursue it more if he wants to, but I don't have to chase him around to make sure he does that.
Right. So you provide an opportunity, street epistemologists, to maybe contact you later if the Christian has any more questions. Just like if the non-believer has any more questions for Gregory, he can contact him through his website.
Approach allowed me to come alongside this wounded person and give him at least a momentary pleasant experience with a thoughtful Christian.
In this example, Gregory is talking about a conversation he had with a former believer. And I think a lot of times Christians assume that the former believers were hurt by the church. Someone hurt them. And in some cases, that's true. It's not true in my case. Christians have this view that, these poor, wounded people, if only they had Jesus in their lives, they'd be so much better. They would have so much more peace and joy in their life.
Here's a model question that you could use for this purpose, that is to gather information. And that model question is very simple. What do you mean by that?
The model question in Street Epistemology is, what do you believe?
Somebody makes a statement boldly and aggressively and confidently, and you ask the question, what do you mean by that? And they give what I call the Simon and Garfunkel response. Silence. And that's what you get. Oftentimes, when you ask somebody, what do you mean by that? You get a blank stare and the sound of silence.
I agree 100%, Gregory. When I ask Christians, why do they believe the Bible's God's word? I can't tell you how many times I've had blank stares come back at me. That's why apologetics is so effective for some people, because, hey, I want to believe this, and if I have a little bit of doubt, I just listen to this apologist, and yeah, that answer sounds good for me. And I really don't have to think about it anymore. I'm good to go.
Now, this might seem a little bit surprising in light of the fact that it's their idea. But you will be amazed at how many people will spout out things that they've really been socialized to say, and they've never given any thought to it at all.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how many people will just spout out apologetic rhetoric and never really give any thought to it at all.
Now, this doesn't happen every single time. Sometimes they'll give you an answer, but it's amazing how often you get the blank stare. I had a person call me on the radio show and said, can you recommend for me a book on Buddhism? I said, why do you want to read a book on Buddhism? That's what do you mean by that question, isn't it? I need more information, okay? He said, well, I have a friend at work who's a Buddhist, and I want to share Christ with him, and so I thought if I read up on Buddhism, I'll be prepared to deal with him. I said, don't waste your money. You buy a book, costs you money, you got to read it, you got to remember it, and chances are it's not going to be the same kind of Buddhism that your buddy at work believes in anyway, so I got a better suggestion. What's that? You grab your buddy, you take him down to the local watering hole, buy him
I think this is pretty good advice. I remember once someone suggesting that I read a book on religious epistemology or reformed epistemology. And Gregory is saying, well, why bother? Why not just save my money and ask the person directly who wants me to read it or who believes those things, and then I'm good to go. Same with, someone else once asked me to read a book about undesigned coincidences. I thought, well, why bother buying the book? I can just ask someone who knows about it, and they can tell me what I need to know.
You see, that's the value of the tactical approach. You can get a great education. I mean, think about it. You can go away today and say, I really don't talk to many non-Christians. I don't even know what their beliefs really are. I know like they're atheists or whatever, but I don't know what's entailed. I go out and ask them.
Yes, please ask
Here's your assignment. You go out in the next 2 weeks. All you do is engage people in conversation, and you say, what do you mean by that?
I beg you, Christians, ask questions.
You draw them out, you sit at their feet, and you learn what they believe. You don't have to take exception with them. You don't have to fight with them. You don't have to give them the gospel. This is just training. Just ask them one question. You'll be amazed at how little they know in light of what you thought they knew. And I'm not putting these people down. Christians are the same way. We are socialized to say lots of different things. When you start pressing Christians on what do you mean by that, as they do, we're stonewalled, right? We're stuck. We don't know where to go because we are illiterate to a great degree about our own views.
I think this is precisely why Christianity is going to die in the future. It's because if all Christians follow Greg Koukl's advice, Christians are going to learn very quickly that what they think they know about atheists, they don't know. They think that atheists say stuff like, there is no God. But most atheists don't say that. They think that all atheists are postmodern thinkers. No. They think all atheists are a certain way, even on social issues like abortion. No, they run the gamut. They run the spectrum. So I think there's going to be a real shock in Christian communities, and the internet's changing things, that when Christians and non-Christians get together and actually start to form relationships and understanding where the other is coming from, they will be amazed. And they will start to reflect those same questions they ask the unbeliever back on themselves.
The first thing to keep in mind when you're engaging in conversation, employing your tactical game plan, you want to ask questions with a goal of putting a stone in someone's shoe.
Your goal is to have them doubt, just like street epistemology.
All right? You want to just get them thinking. How do
you want to get them thinking, to critically examine their own beliefs, just like street epistemology.
You do that? Well, the first step is to draw them out, gather information.
Draw them out, build rapport, just like street epistemology.
The more information you can get about them and about their point of view and whatever, the more opportunity that you'll have to find a niche or find a way, a foothold, so to speak, in the conversation to move forward. By the way, sometimes nothing happens. You start asking these questions to draw them out, you start gathering information, and the conversation goes nowhere, just absolutely nowhere. This happens to me lots of times. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to try to push the river.
I think it happens to me a lot too, Gregory, and I think it happens more with non-Christians or atheists asking Christians questions than the other way around. I really believe that. I could be wrong about that, but I think there is more fear in the believer's mind than the unbelievers. There is this thing called hell and wrath and sin and your God frowning at you if you doubt too much. Atheists don't have that. So I think there's a little more hesitation from the Christian side of things to be very careful. Christians don't want to go down the wrong path and end up disbelieving because they're scared. Leaving Christianity is bad. It has bad consequences. Atheists don't have those bad consequences. Of course, unless hell is true.
Here, I'm just going to go with the flow. If it doesn't seem that God is opening up an opportunity for me, the other person is not interested in pursuing this, I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to let it lie and move on.
Yeah, and street epistemology is the same way. We don't force people to answer our questions. If they don't want to engage, that's all right.
Do not think that every encounter is a divine appointment. I want you to know that Stand to Reason is there for you on an ongoing basis to help you with the process. I mentioned the radio show. I hope you download the show on a regular basis. It's only 3 hours a week. That's one LA commute. Right.
So Gregory here is talking about there's support groups. There's places you can go to learn how to do this, which is one of the criticisms against SC. They even have support groups where you can go and perfect your telemarketing skills. Just exactly what Gregory is talking about here. You have websites, you have support groups in this type of apologetic to help you.
Right? So it's doable. But anyway, please go to our website, download.
Please go to the Street Epistemology website.
Sign up for our radio show. Get that on a regular basis. Be sure to get the app. And
make sure to get the Street Epistemology app.
We'd also like to send you free training material every single month. And that's what this card that you've been handed out is for, all right?
Street Epistemologists won't make you fill out a card.
So can you grab that? Did you all get one of these when you walked in? You have with it also a newsletter called Solid Ground. We want to send that to you.
I don't think Street Epistemologists will send you anything or ask for your mailing address, so you don't have to worry about any solicitation, unlike Gregory here.
And we can send it to you snail mail or virtual. The value of virtual is you get to send it to other people, but there's also links to all my sources for the articles that I'm writing. But we need to know where you live, what your email
We need to know where you live. Street epistemologists don't need to know where you live.
address is. Take a moment to fill this out, and we'll send you Solid Ground free of charge. And we'll also, on alternating months, I'll send you a mentoring letter that is just one page that is meant to help you be a better ambassador for Christ. You can tear this off at the perforation. This blue card is for you. This is a little thumbnail sketch of the Columbo tactic. You can put it in your purse or your Bible or your pocket or whatever. Refer to that later. It's a little cheat sheet, if you will.
A cheat sheet, so like a script.
This is for me. Take a moment and fill this out, and then as you go out, by the table there, you'll find a number of books. One of them is the tactics book that's available, and I'd be glad to sign this for anyone who's purchased it. This is like one of the best values on the table. It's small, easy to read, $2. It's called Jesus the Only Way, 100 verses. I found 100 verses in the New Testament that teach Jesus is the only way, either implicitly or explicitly.
He found 100 verses, and he's selling it for $2. Here's a little secret. You can get Bibles for free nowadays and find these verses for yourselves.
And this is a very controversial issue.
Save
All
the
I'm
$2.
trying to show is this is what Jesus believed, and this is what he taught his followers to teach others.
No, it's claims of what Jesus believed and claims of what Jesus taught his followers and claims of what Jesus said.
And it says Greg Koukl at the bottom like I wrote it, but God wrote most of this book, all right?
How do you know that? What do you mean by that, Gregory?
Just so you know. So those are going to be there as well.